Let's talk about a fear that rarely gets named directly. Not the fear of failure, not the fear of losing money, but the fear of losing yourself. For many people, letting go doesn't feel like relief. It feels like disappearance. You've spent years building something, a career, a role, a reputation, a way of being in the world. And even if that life no longer fits, it's familiar. It tells you who you are. It gives you shape. So when you consider letting go, the fear isn't, what if this doesn't work? The fear is, who am I if I stop being this person? That's why letting go feels so heavy. Identity is not something we consciously design. It forms quietly through repetition, through responsibility, through what you're praised for, through what you endure. Over time, your actions harden into a story about who you are. You're the responsible one, the strong one, the provider, the high achiever. Those identities are not fake, they're earned, but they can also become cages. Letting go threatens that story, and when a story collapses, even a limiting one, it leaves a vacuum. Humans are deeply uncomfortable with vacuums. We prefer a painful identity to no identity at all. That's why people often stay in lives they've outgrown. Not because they don't see the problem, but because they don't know who they'd be without it. Money reinforces this fear in subtle ways. Income isn't just financial, it's symbolic. It validates the identity you've been playing. When you earn in a certain way, live at a certain level, provide in a certain role, your sense of self becomes intertwined with maintaining that structure. Letting go doesn't just risk comfort, it risks legitimacy. And legitimacy is deeply tied to safety. For years, your life may have been defined by necessity. You did what you had to do. That necessity gave you clarity. It justified sacrifice. It gave you meaning through endurance. But when necessity fades, identity starts to wobble. If you're no longer struggling, are you still worthy? If you're no longer pushing, are you still valuable? If you're no longer proving something, what's left? These questions don't come from ego. They come from a nervous system trained to survive through effort. Struggle is loud, it fills space, it distracts you from deeper questions. Letting go removes that noise, and in the quiet, uncertainty rushes in. This is why letting go often feels worse before it feels better. People expect relief. Instead, they feel grief. Grief for the version of themselves that worked so hard to get here. Grief for the years spent becoming someone they may no longer need to be. And grief is not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're transitioning. Letting go is not an action. It's a process of disentangling identity from survival. Most people don't actually let go. They replace. They swap one form of pressure for another, one goal for the next, one identity for a shinier version, because replacement feels safer than emptiness. But emptiness is where redefinition begins. A life without constant pressure feels strange because pressure once gave you direction. Without it, you must choose direction deliberately, and choice requires self-trust. Self-trust is hard when you've spent years following external scripts. Letting go feels like losing yourself because, in a way, you are losing a self, the self that was shaped by constraint, the self that survived by enduring, the self that equated worth with output. But losing that self is not erasure, it's evolution. The problem is that evolution doesn't come with applause. There's no clear marker, no external validation. You look less impressive before you feel more whole. That's why people retreat back into old identities. At least those identities come with recognition. Freedom often looks like confusion from the outside. There's a moment in many transitions where you feel undefined, not broken, just undefined. That moment is deeply uncomfortable for people who've always known who they were supposed to be. But that undefined space is not failure, it's capacity. It's where you can finally ask, what kind of life do I want to inhabit, not just maintain? Letting go doesn't mean abandoning responsibility. It means renegotiating it, deciding which responsibilities are aligned and which are inherited out of fear. A mature life isn't one where nothing is dropped. It's one where what remains is chosen. You don't lose yourself when you let go. You lose the version of yourself that was built for a life you no longer need to survive. That version deserves respect, not obedience. Honoring your past doesn't mean staying loyal to its limitations. Letting go feels like losing yourself because you haven't yet met who you're becoming. And meeting that version takes time. It requires patience with uncertainty, kindness toward your nervous system, and the courage to exist without a fixed label for a while. Eventually, something steadier forms. Not an identity built on pressure, but one built on coherence. Your actions align with your values. Your pace matches your capacity. Your life no longer requires constant self-negotiation. That's when letting go stops feeling like loss and starts feeling like relief. But you can't rush that moment. You have to pass through the space where you're not sure who you are without running back to who you were. That's the real work. Letting go isn't about becoming less. It's about becoming less divided. And a life that's no longer divided doesn't need constant effort to hold together. It simply holds.